With the first selection in the second round, number 32 overall, the San Diego Chargers have selected quarterback from Purdue, Drew Brees.
Oh, yeah, back in the day, Drew Brees, a second-round selection to the San Diego Chargers. Now he joins me here 2 days before another draft in the National Football League, this one in Chicago, live in our Chicago studio. He joins us as a future first-ballot Hall of Fame quarterback from the New Orleans Saints. Good to see you, Drew Brees. How are you, sir?
I'm doing excellent. Those are good memories.
Yeah, you just pumped your fist. You just fist pumped in the air when you heard that.
It's funny. It took me back. It took me back to my apartment back at Purdue University.
Is that where you
West
were?
Lafayette, Indiana. Yep. It was my now wife, girlfriend at the time, Brittany, my brother Reed, our dog. And we had just like fried up some fish, and we were just sitting there eating, watching the draft, just kind of waiting for my name to be called.
Yeah, and now you'd have to wait another night to get your name called for a second round. You know,
that's exactly right. That would have been because I'd been told by a number of teams that hey, if you're there at whatever the pick, 17, 23, 26, we're going to take you, right? So I thought I was going to be a first round pick. So that would have been a little disappointing. That would have been one of those, like, I'm waiting in the room, for my name to be called and come out on stage, and then all of a sudden it doesn't get called. It's like, well, looks like I'm going home for the night.
Did you hear
come back tomorrow?
Paxton Lynch is going bowling. Did you hear that? He's not coming here. He's taking his family. He's going bowling.
There's something to be said for that. Just relax and enjoy. Yeah, just enjoy time with your loved ones and those closest to you, and then it's not like it's going to affect where you're going or when you're going, right?
Yeah, so did Marty Schottenheimer call you? Did you get a call in your apartment, or what
actually,
happened that day?
The head coach for the San Diego Chargers at the time was Mike Riley.
Wow.
Mike Riley. That was he was head coach there, I believe, 4 years. So 98 to 2000 was the Ryan Leaf era with the Chargers, and then he was gone, and then they signed Doug Flutie that offseason and then drafted me. With the first pick of the second round. They drafted LaDainian Tomlinson with the fifth pick that year. That worked. That was the big trade with Chargers had the first pick, and they traded with Atlanta.
Yeah, with Atlanta. That was the Vic year.
Yep, so Atlanta jumped up, took Michael Vick. Tons of memories from that. The GM at the time was John Butler. John Butler.
May he rest in peace.
Yeah, great man. He passed away 2 years later from cancer. But it was funny. I remember the conversation like it was yesterday. Phone ringing, and I pick it up, and he said, Drew Brees, John Butler, GM for the Chargers. He goes, I heard you on the radio, which is funny. I'd gone on the radio in San Diego that week, and I was asked by the guys, hey, there's a good chance we take you. Would you want to come here? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, I want to be a Charger, baby. So he's like, hey, I was listening. You said you wanted to be a Charger, baby, so now you get the chance.
And then you go and join San Diego, and then now obviously the rest is now history, and there's still more for you to write. I've got Drew Brees here on the Rich Eisen Show. So let's talk about the here and now before we get to a few other things in your life with Tempur-Pedic and other things that's going on with you. So in New Orleans right now, there was a report this morning that they try to trade up to number 1 overall. I don't know if you heard this pick. If this news, you're smiling at me right now. So you have heard this news? You have not heard this news?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so I'm breaking news to you right now.
Totally.
I don't know. Who knows if it's true or not, but that's what this week is all about right now, it seems. Do you have any reaction to that right now, Drew Brees?
Well, first of all, I worry about the things I can control.
Correct.
I would doubt that probably was
the case
or a consideration. But even if it was, it does not affect my mentality or my approach or anything.
So your things that you can control are what? What can you control right now, Drew?
I can control going to work every day, continuing to work on the things that I've kind of set out for myself this offseason to improve upon.
Yeah.
And then trying to get the absolute best out of everybody around me as well, and putting our team in the best position to go and make a run at a championship.
Right, and Josh Norman came available this week, and the word was that you were talking to management about what can we do to go get this guy? I mean,
First thing I'll say, and this kind of goes in regards to any personnel decisions, and that is I'm player, and I don't make personnel decisions.
Sure.
Now, when asked, which is often the case when it comes to free agent guys, because GM, head coach, coaches that might not be familiar with the player, trying to gather information on a player. It's like, hey, you've been around this guy at the Pro Bowl, you played college ball with this guy, whatever. What are your opinions of? And so certainly add my 2 cents in when asked. But, when decisions are made like Jimmy Graham and different guys, it's, hey, listen, I trust our organization. I trust Mickey Loomis. I trust Sean Payton.
Mm-hmm.
I trust the direction that they have us going, and I understand my role and my job. But with that, when he became available, it was such a shock. It's like, wait a minute, Josh Norman's available?
I couldn't believe it.
Right?
I couldn't believe it.
And I knew we would have an interest just because, you play against a guy for 4 years and you feel like you know him pretty well. And I think he's kind of watched him grow and mature and, into this great player right before your eyes. And so, man, I knew he's a guy who could help us. And so, we began those discussions and I was asked my opinion. I think, listen, I think he's a great player. I think he could help us. I like the way he plays the game. I love his competitive streak. And, when asked if I would, whatever I needed to do to help the team acquire him, get him, listen, I'm always in a position to want to help our team in that way to get the guys that certainly I feel like can help us, take it to the next level.
Yeah, and then he wound up, unfortunately for the Saints, going to another team. But you've got your own. You got your own house that you got to worry about. You got your own house to take care of. And in that respect, Sean Payton came back, even though he never left. It was kind of an interesting 10 days after the season was all over. Were you concerned at any point that he was no longer going to be your coach there in New Orleans?
I was not. I was not concerned that he wouldn't be. But I understood, there's always speculation, especially when you have kind of the disappointing result of a season, kind of consecutively. We've become accustomed to having successful seasons and winning a lot of games and going to the playoffs. And, when that doesn't happen for 2 years, that's disappointing. And so I understand maybe where the speculation would come from when it comes to him, when it comes to me, when it comes to, a lot of the people that you would say are big contributors to our team. But I figured that I was very confident that he would be back and that we would continue what we started.
Yeah, I've got Drew Brees here on the Rich Eisen Show. So with your draft week coming up here, will you chill out, watch, see what the Saints do? Where are you going to be? Just hanging with your family at home?
I'm going to be working out. I'm going to be getting ready for next season, and then I've been paying attention to obviously what's happening. It's exciting times. Exciting to see who we get. Exciting to see who the rest of the division gets. Right? Mm-hmm. You just kind of watch it all come together, and this draft has turned into just this huge spectacle.
It's unbelievable,
right?
Drew. There's the draft town that's out there. There's an outside component. The NFL will never have a draft without an outside component ever again.
Yeah.
It will always, it'll be, and I think they're already thinking of moving it around. It's totally nuts.
It's become another Super Bowl. When you talk about the week of events and festivities and media attention and, like you said, this outdoor element, it's almost like a whole new NFL experience.
Right, exactly. Right? Yeah, it's unbelievable. I'd like to take a 60-second break, come back, and then talk more about, again, you're with Tempur-Pedic. I want to get your thoughts, obviously, on what's going on with Tom Brady. I know you're locked in with the union. I got to get your thoughts on that and so much more. I appreciate you being here, Drew Brees. Drew Brees here in person here. We're back in 60 ticks with more with the future Hall of Fame quarterback of the New Orleans Saints here on the Rich Eisen Show. Welcome back to the Rich Eisen Show here in Chicago, Illinois. Drew Brees is joining me here in studio. I'm glad you're here for this, Drew, because you're seeing some of the stuff that goes behind the scenes on radio and TV shows and things of that nature. You want to turn his mic on? Would you mind hitting his mic on for him? Drew Brees is here. Yeah, right now, would you like to describe what's happening right now, Drew? Go for it.
We're testing the smoke detectors in our studio.
In our studio right now, yeah.
And the question was asked, hey, we're going live here in like 20 seconds. Is this going to go off?
Right.
And he's like, well, no, it's not working. And it's like, well, what's the point of a smoke detector if it's not working?
Yes.
Right?
You just saw this sort of madness.
Right. Which makes me feel like somebody in this room tampered with the smoke detector.
I don't know about that. That's
so
probably
that
a misdemeanor.
Wouldn't go off.
That's kind of right. Yeah.
Which means what is happening in this studio when I'm not around?
I don't know.
That's the question.
I don't know, but you just saw that. I'm like, well, okay, Did you see I remain calm, right? I remain calm
Yeah.
because here's somebody testing a smoke alarm just above my
your head.
microphone.
Right above your noggin.
Right, just as we're about to come back live.
Right,
And I'm
right.
thinking, okay, this thing could go off. And he goes, no, don't worry. It's not connected.
Red lights are on. What does that mean?
I think it means it's disconnected.
Okay. Okay.
Well, this thing could go off at any point in time. We'll let our smile be our umbrella if this thing does go off.
Don't be alarmed, folks.
I've got Drew Brees right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, so let's talk about Tom Brady's suspension is now back on. I know you are very connected with the Players Association. You are locked in with the NFLPA, and you have been for some time. So my question for you is this no longer about Tom Brady? Is this about getting the commissioner's power somewhat changed, if not corralled in from the PA point of view, Drew?
Well, I've not, since this was announced,
Yes.
again, the reinstatement of his punishment, I've not spoken to anybody, so I'm not sure of what's been happening behind the scenes. But this kind of caught me off guard. I don't know about you. I think we all thought this was kind of a dead issue. This was done from last year, and we were all moving on, and yet, here it comes again. I think that this has everything to do with the commissioner's power and wanting to make sure that everyone knows that he has unilateral decision-making power to, levy punishment and make decisions that, obviously he feels are in the best interest of the league or to protect the,
You're using air quotes right now.
integrity of the game. But at the end of the day, I think that, and we've been witness to this down in New Orleans firsthand, is that there's just so much mistrust from the players' perspective, and I think the fans' perspective in regards to the way that the league handles these matters. There is nothing transparent about it. Everything happens behind closed doors. You always feel like there is an agenda at play. Back with Bountygate, it was player health and safety. The league was getting hammered on head and neck injuries, the way that the negligence in regards to what they knew, what they didn't know when it came to former players and their injuries and the long-term effects they were suffering. And so they had to take a big stand. They chose the New Orleans Saints. They directed the investigation to lead to the result that they wanted. Nobody ever got to see any of that evidence. Nobody ever got to see any of those facts, supposedly, or the truths of the case. But at the end of the day, everybody got vindicated. Unfortunately, the damage was already done. So two different scenarios, but I think the commonality is that when there's a point that they want to make, they're going to continue down the road to make it. And in this case, it was making sure that the courts were upholding the commissioner's authority to make these decisions and not have anybody, have a say or question it. Whereas I just don't think that's a fair process. Certainly when we fans, players don't have a chance to have a transparent investigative process.
Well, in that regard, though, Drew, with these judges, 2 of the 3 that ruled in favor of the NFL said yesterday was like, look, in terms of pretty much everything that you just said, that's one thing. The issue is that did labor law get broken from the letter of the collective bargaining agreement? And they basically said if Brady and or the Players Association wanted a different result, they should have signed a different deal, is essentially what the language said. I'm paraphrasing the thought. How close back when this was all going down were you and other players from saying we are not signing this deal because of the way that this whole issue of punishment and judging and arbitration is laid out? How close were you to saying no deal?
Well, there were so many other issues at play. So many other issues. And so I think the focus was on those things. And so I'm not to sit here and say that, this kind of just fell through the cracks. I mean, obviously this was something that was discussed, and maybe the realization that we didn't think it would ever get to these types of situations, or that it would, but I think what we've realized is there's nothing we can go back and do about it now, but certainly as we think about the next CBA negotiations and really the dialogue that can happen between now and then, there's changes that need to be made. I mean, just because I hate to see this type of mistrust between league, commissioner, and players and fans. There shouldn't be that disconnect. There should be a much more open, transparent process. Even if Roger Goodell, who's done many great things for the league, I would just say this thing in particular is really a black eye for the league, and there's something that should be done about it.
There's a couple more things I want to hit you on again before we talk about your business with Tempur-Pedic. Will Smith's death. You were very eloquent in speaking about the city and about the violence that goes there, the gun violence in specific. But you know how our country is, Drew. Right? We get outraged about it, and then we go about other. We all have kids. We have our own lives. We have stuff that's going on.
Right.
What is it? Can you tell me about the mood in New Orleans right now about the death of Will Smith? Has there been a page turned in a way right now? Because I don't know.
Yeah.
Nationally, it feels like it has already. But
I mean, there was anger, there was sadness. You just felt like you lost a great citizen. Obviously somebody who meant a lot to the city based upon his football career, but somebody who had his whole life ahead of him, his family. He was going to live in New Orleans. He was going to start coaching with the Saints actually this offseason. Yes, and you just felt like you lost a great ambassador for the city and somebody who really had the opportunity to make a positive difference. And so listen, it's a huge issue. You could get political with it in regards to gun control. I think there's so many more important elements to it prior to us ever getting there. Because if people aren't going to kill each other with guns, they're going to kill each other with something else. If that is the way that they choose to react to each other, if that's the way that human beings are going to treat human beings, that's the core issue here. So what that tells me is that we have too many young people in this country that are growing up without hope in their life. Not hope for a better tomorrow, not hope for getting a great education that's going to get them out of the cycle of poverty, not hope that they can do something with their lives other than just getting caught up in the swell of drugs, violence, just this lack of hope or care for their own life and for the life of others. And so as I sit back and I say, well, this isn't a New Orleans problem. This is an everywhere problem, especially in the United States. So what can we do about it? Well, each one of us, it's an overwhelming problem, but each one of us can say this: I can make a difference in the life of one young person. I can provide the type of mentorship, the type of guidance that would help this person to know that, there is somebody that cares about you and there is somebody that wants you to be successful in life. Now, can we provide better educational opportunities for these kids? Can we provide better mentorship opportunities? Yes, we absolutely can, and we need to do that. I think this is a breakdown in regards to just overall family values in this country. We have too many kids growing up without positive male role models in their life. So, listen, moms are important, but you look at the research. Fathers for young men and young women is the difference maker. And so kids in our country need positive male role models. And there's not enough of them. There's not enough men that take the responsibility of being a father to their kids. And that's a major problem, too. And we need to call those people out. Those people need to be judged.
Do you ever consider running for office when you're done playing?
No. Listen,
have you ever been asked that, Drew?
I'm gonna play football for as long as I can, and then I'm worrying about raising my kids, and I'm worrying about trying to make a difference in the lives of others in a positive way. But I think that's the core of this whole thing is. There needs to be a change of heart in regards to the way that we treat one another and the way that we think about raising our youth so that this next generation knows that they have hope and they have opportunities that can change the cycle that they're in.
I got a couple minutes left with you. The schedule makers nailed one of your games this year, a Monday night game, one day after the 10-year anniversary of the reopening of the Superdome of the same teams. I don't know if you were aware of that one yet, too, because I'm sure I was there that night. When it was the Falcons against the Saints, and obviously the reopening of the Superdome, the blocked punt.
Yeah.
What is that going to be like, do you think, 10 years removed, Drew?
Yeah.
On that night.
Pretty unbelievable. I mean that night is seared in all of our minds as just being such an incredible night. I mean, it was so symbolic of just the resurgence of New Orleans and the fact that not only were we coming back, but we were coming back stronger, and everybody was just, banded together. And we were willed to win that game, and then a lot of games after that, and that was really kind of a magical season that unfortunately ended here in Chicago in the NFC Championship game that year. But it spoke volumes about just, I think, the strength and the courage and just the will and determination of our city. And I hopefully what will be highlighted is just all the positive things that have happened over the last 10 years in New Orleans. The school system has grown in leaps and bounds and has provided so many better opportunities for kids there. There's an entrepreneurial movement there that's pretty incredible. I mean, New Orleans is kind of this land of opportunity after Hurricane Katrina. So many young entrepreneurs came there to establish businesses, create jobs. I mean, obviously the tourism industry has been huge, and it's still a great place to come and have a good time and go to Jazz Fest or go to, we know how to throw a party, but at the same time, and the thing that I'm most proud of is to say that, New Orleans is a great place to raise a family. Despite what's happened, I mean, obviously we're coming on the heels of just talking about what happened with Will Smith and everything, but, gun violence in New Orleans is actually down 30% this year. 30%. Now, unfortunately, it appears to be the Wild West after something that happened like what just happened. Mm-hmm. But I love our mayor. I love our leadership and some of the things that are trying to be done to again, make New Orleans a place where we can all proud to call it home and proud to raise a family there.
So tell me about this Temper Breeze line and the videos that's coming out. You and Max Unger having some fun. I've checked some of this stuff out. It looks...
So we're announcing the Breeze on Breeze campaign today. This is the launch of the new Temper Breeze line of mattresses, which it's awesome when a relationship comes together that's like just totally purely authentic. I've slept on a Tempur-Pedic for 10 plus years. I would never sleep on another mattress ever. And so when I was approached with the opportunity to do this, to do it with Max, it was a lot of fun. So basically the idea is, hey, listen, all the big guys are hot sleepers. Are you a hot sleeper? I'm a hot sleeper.
Yes.
And it's not about quantity of sleep, it's quality of sleep. And so the idea is I kind of bust into Max Unger's room at 3 a.m. and I'm like, hey, got this new Temper Breeze mattress for you. And I know he's like, yeah, I sleep hot. I'm like, yeah, you got to sleep on this, get a great night's sleep to wake up the next day to block for me, right? That kind of thing. And so we shot a bunch of these little digital videos that we're going to be posting on social media today, and you can go to the YouTube page, youtube.com/Tempur-Pedic-Beds and watch them as well. But it was fun.
And it's Tempur-Pedic.com/Breeze, but the way you spell the win, not your last name, Breeze. Drew Brees, you are the man. Thanks for coming in. I really appreciate it. Say hi to your lovely wife.
Thank you. You too.
And 4 children.
4.
Boy, you're halfway to Rivers.
I don't know how he does it.
8 kids.
Listen, 4.
8 children.
4 will drive you nuts. 8?
I can't even imagine.
Oh, I can't imagine.
Well, good for you, Drew Brees. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day here in Chicago.
Thank you.
You bet. Drew Brees here on The Rich Eisen Show.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.